Patience. Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever felt the weight of truth pressing against your chest while the world demanded your silence? Have you ever watched lies walk freely through the front door while honesty was forced to sneak in through the back? Today, I want to talk about a moment that changes everything, a moment when the truth you've carried alone is no longer yours to defend. A moment when someone, somewhere, holds undeniable evidence that proves what you've been saying all along. And when, patience, that evidence finally sees the light of day, something powerful happens. The people who ignored you become listeners. The people who doubted you become witnesses. And the people who tried to bury the truth realize that truth has a strange habit. It always finds a way back to the surface. This is not just a story about justice. It's about endurance. It's about standing firm when no one believes you. And it's about what happens when the truth finally gets an ally willing to fight for justice at all. Patience costs. So, ladies and gentlemen, prepare yourselves for a journey through courage, truth, and the unstoppable force of justice. There are moments in life when speaking the truth feels more like a punishment than a virtue. A person can stand in front of friends, family, colleagues, or even an entire community and tell the truth exactly as it is, only to be met with doubt, criticism, or complete rejection. The truth does not always arrive with applause. In fact, it often arrives alone. It walks, patience, into rooms where lies have already taken every seat. It faces people who have invested their emotions, reputations, and beliefs into false narratives. When that happens, truth becomes uncomfortable, and uncomfortable truths are rarely welcomed. Many people assume that if something is true, it will be immediately accepted. Reality teaches a different lesson. History is filled with individuals who spoke honestly but were ignored because their words challenged powerful interests or popular opinions. The truth can threaten those who benefit from deception. It can expose corruption, reveal hidden motives, and force people to confront realities they would rather avoid. Because of this, truth often encounters resistance before it receives recognition. One of the hardest experiences a person can face is knowing they are right while everyone around them insists they are wrong. Imagine carrying facts, evidence, and certainty in your heart while facing accusations, mockery, or isolation. Every conversation becomes a battle. Every attempt to explain yourself feels like speaking into a storm. There are times when people begin to question themselves, not because they are wrong, but because the pressure of being doubted becomes overwhelming. Yet the truth remains unchanged regardless of how many people refuse to acknowledge it. A lie possesses one advantage that truth does not. It can be designed to appeal to emotions. It can be shaped to satisfy expectations. It can be altered to, fit whatever people want to hear. The truth has no such flexibility. It remains exactly what it is. It does not adjust itself to gain popularity. It does not change its form to win approval. That is why lies can spread quickly while truth often moves slowly. A lie can travel through a crowd in minutes, but truth may spend years waiting for its opportunity to be heard. The passage of time, however, reveals a powerful difference between truth and falsehood. Lies require constant maintenance. They need protection, excuses, and new stories to support old stories. The people who create them must remember every detail and continue defending them. Truth requires none of that effort. It simply exists. It remains consistent from the first day to the last. While lies grow weaker under scrutiny, truth grows stronger. Every investigation, every question, and every challenge eventually brings people closer to reality. There are countless situations where individuals have been blamed for things they, never did, accused of actions they never committed, or criticized for words they never spoke. In those moments it may seem as though falsehood has won. The crowd may believe the accusation, the media may repeat the story. Influential voices may support the wrong side. Yet appearances are not the same as reality. What is popular is not always correct, and what is correct is not always popular. Patience becomes one of the greatest tests for anyone who stands with the truth. It is easy to remain, confident when people support you. It is far more difficult when support disappears. True strength is revealed when a person continues to hold on to what is right despite opposition. Integrity is not measured by how firmly someone stands during comfortable times. It is measured by how firmly they stand when standing becomes costly. Eventually, facts begin to emerge, contradictions appear, hidden details surface, witnesses speak, evidence comes forward. The same truth that was once dismissed, starts demanding attention. People who once ignored it begin examining it. Those who rejected it begin questioning their assumptions. The foundation of every lie starts to crack because deception cannot permanently hide from reality. No matter how carefully falsehood is constructed, it contains weaknesses that time eventually exposes. The remarkable thing about truth is that it does not need perfect circumstances to survive. It can endure criticism, disbelief, and delay. It can remain buried, beneath rumors and misunderstandings for years. It can wait through seasons of injustice and still emerge unchanged. The world may postpone recognizing the truth, but postponement is not destruction. Delay is not defeat. Opposition is not proof of failure. Truth possesses a resilience that falsehood can never match because it is rooted in reality rather than imagination. For this reason, those who know they have spoken honestly must never allow temporary rejection to define their confidence. The absence of immediate validation does not determine the value of what is true. Recognition may arrive late. Justice may take longer than expected. Understanding may come after countless disappointments. Yet reality remains patient. It waits for evidence, circumstances, and time to reveal what was always there from the beginning. There is a powerful difference between an accusation and evidence. An accusation is a claim. It can be spoken by anyone, repeated by many, and believed by countless people. Evidence, however, is something entirely different. Evidence carries weight. It stands independently of opinions, emotions, and assumptions. While accusations can create confusion, evidence creates clarity. While accusations can divide people, evidence has the power to reveal reality. In moments when truth is questioned and credibility is challenged, evidence becomes the turning point that changes everything. Many individuals have experienced situations where they knew the truth, lacked the ability to prove it. They carried facts within their memories, confidence within their hearts, and certainty within their minds, yet others demanded proof. This can be one of the most frustrating experiences a person can endure. Knowing something is true does not automatically mean others will believe it. In a world filled with competing stories and conflicting narratives, proof often becomes the deciding factor between doubt and acceptance. People naturally form judgments based on what they see and hear. Unfortunately, first impressions are not always accurate. Rumors can spread faster than facts. False stories can gain momentum before anyone has an opportunity to challenge them. Once a narrative takes hold, it becomes difficult to change. Even reasonable people can be influenced by repetition. The more often a claim is heard, the more believable it can seem. This is why evidence is so important. Evidence interrupts assumptions and forces reality into the conversation. Unlike opinions, evidence does not depend on popularity. It does not care how many people support one side or oppose another. It exists regardless of public sentiment. A document remains a document. A recording remains a recording. A witness statement remains a witness statement. Facts maintain their value even when surrounded by skepticism. Evidence possesses a unique strength because it speaks a language that transcends personal bias. There are moments when entire groups of people become convinced of something that later proves false. History provides countless examples of individuals who were judged unfairly before crucial evidence emerged. Before the evidence appeared, many believed they already knew the truth. They were confident in their conclusions. They defended their assumptions passionately. Then new information surfaced and everything changed. What once seemed certain suddenly became questionable. What was accepted as fact was revealed as misunderstanding. This is one of the reasons evidence holds such extraordinary power. It has the ability to transform perception. People who once doubted begin reconsidering their position. Critics who were certain become cautious. Observers who remained undecided start seeing the situation differently. Evidence forces people to confront reality, even when reality challenges their previous beliefs. For those who have been falsely accused, misunderstood, or ignored, evidence often represents hope. It becomes the bridge, between truth and recognition. Without evidence, a truthful person may struggle to convince others. With evidence, the same person gains a powerful ally. Suddenly, the conversation shifts. The focus moves away from speculation and toward verification. Instead of asking what people think happened, attention turns toward what can actually be proven. The arrival of evidence can be dramatic. A single piece of information can unravel years of deception. One document can expose a carefully constructed lie. One recording can reveal hidden intentions. One witness can confirm what others denied. In some cases, people spend years protecting false narratives only to see them collapse in a matter of moments when undeniable proof emerges. The strength of a lie often depends on the absence of evidence. Once evidence appears, deception begins losing its foundation. Evidence also carries a deeper lesson about patience and perseverance. Many people become discouraged when their truth is questioned. They, patients, feel pressure to defend themselves repeatedly. They grow tired of explaining, arguing, and trying to be heard. Yet the existence of evidence reminds us that reality does not disappear simply because it is temporarily hidden. Facts remain facts whether they are immediately recognized or not. What is true today will remain true tomorrow. The search for evidence requires persistence. Investigators continue looking, witnesses continue speaking, records continue existing, details continue surfacing. Patience. Even when important information remains hidden for a time, it often leaves traces behind. Truth has a tendency to create evidence because reality leaves footprints. Every action, every decision, and every event generates clues that eventually point toward what actually occurred. When evidence finally reaches the light, the balance of power changes. Those who relied on assumptions find themselves facing facts. Those who depended on confusion encounter clarity. Those who built their position on deception discover that deception cannot withstand proof forever. What once appeared uncertain becomes undeniable. What was questioned becomes established. What was hidden becomes visible. At that moment, the discussion is no longer controlled by rumors, emotions, or personal preferences. The facts begin speaking for themselves. Evidence becomes the voice that truth has been waiting for, transforming doubt into understanding and replacing uncertainty with reality. One of the greatest misconceptions people have is believing that silence means surrender. When someone stops arguing, stops defending themselves, or stops responding to every accusation, many assume they have accepted defeat. Society often interprets silence as weakness because it is accustomed to noise. We live in a world where people constantly compete to be heard, where every opinion demands attention, and where every disagreement becomes a public battle. In such an environment, silence can easily be misunderstood. Yet silence does not always indicate defeat. Sometimes it represents strength, wisdom, patience, and self-control. There are moments when a person realizes that no amount of explanation will change a closed mind. Facts can be presented clearly, evidence can be offered honestly, and truth can be spoken repeatedly, yet some individuals remain committed to misunderstanding. Continuing to argue in such situations often produces nothing but frustration. The discussion stops being about truth, and becomes a contest of persistence. At that point, silence becomes a conscious decision rather than a sign of weakness. Many people who speak the truth eventually face a difficult choice. They can continue defending themselves against endless criticism, or they can conserve their energy and allow time to reveal what words cannot. This decision is often misinterpreted by observers. Critics may claim victory. Opponents may assume they have won. Spectators may believe the quiet person has run out of answers. In reality, the person may simply understand that not every battle deserves participation. Silence can be one of the most powerful forms of confidence. It demonstrates that a person's belief in the truth does not depend on constant validation from others. They do not feel compelled to answer every accusation or respond to every insult. They recognize that truth is not strengthened by endless arguments, nor is it weakened by temporary doubt. Their confidence comes from knowing what is real, not from convincing every person they encounter. History provides countless examples of individuals who remained silent while facing criticism, only to be vindicated later. During the period of silence, they were judged harshly. People questioned their motives, doubted their integrity, and assumed the worst. Yet when the facts eventually emerged, it became clear that their silence was not an admission of guilt. It was an expression of patience. They understood something that others, did not. Reality as a way of revealing itself without constant assistance. Remaining silent during difficult times requires tremendous discipline. Human nature encourages immediate reaction. When someone attacks our character, spreads false information, or questions our honesty, the instinctive response is to fight back. We want to defend ourselves. We want to correct every misunderstanding. We want people to know our side of the story. These desires are completely natural. However, wisdom, patience, sometimes requires resisting that impulse. Not every accusation deserves a response. Not every rumor deserves attention. Some controversies survive only because people continue feeding them with reactions. Silence can remove that fuel. It can deny falsehood the attention it seeks. While lies often thrive on conflict, they struggle when denied the opportunity to create endless drama. In this sense, silence becomes a strategic choice rather than a passive one. Silence also allows individuals to, patience, focus on what truly matters. Instead of becoming consumed by defending their reputation, they continue building their character. Instead of fighting every critic, they invest their energy in productive actions. Instead of chasing approval, they remain committed to their principles. Over time, actions often become more persuasive than words. A person's consistency, integrity, and conduct begin speaking on their behalf. There is a significant difference between silence driven by fear and silence, patience, driven by strength. Fearful silence emerges when someone is intimidated into submission. Strong silence emerges when someone refuses to be distracted from their purpose. The first is imposed by circumstances. The second is chosen deliberately. A strong person may remain silent not because they lack a voice, but because they understand the value of using that voice wisely. The passage of time often reveals the true meaning behind silence. What initially appears to be weakness may later be patience, recognized as restraint. What seemed like surrender may eventually be understood as confidence. As evidence surfaces and facts become clearer, observers begin reevaluating their assumptions. They realize the silent individual was never defeated. They were simply waiting for reality to speak louder than opinion. One of the most remarkable qualities of truth is that it does not always require immediate defense. While lies often depend on constant promotion and protection, truth possesses patience, endurance of its own. It can survive periods of doubt, criticism, and misunderstanding. It can withstand moments when its supporters are outnumbered or ignored. During those moments, silence does not signify the end of the struggle. It often marks a period of preparation before reality reveals itself more clearly. The quiet individual who remains faithful to the truth during adversity demonstrates a unique kind of courage. Their strength is not measured by how loudly they argue, but by how firmly, patience, they remain committed to what they know is right. They understand that temporary criticism cannot alter reality and that public opinion cannot permanently rewrite the facts. Their silence becomes a reflection of patience, discipline, and unwavering belief in the power of truth. There comes a point in many people's lives when they discover that standing for what is right does not always attract support. In fact, some of the most important decisions a person will ever make must be made without the patience, comfort of agreement from others. It is easy to follow a crowd when everyone is moving in the same direction. It is easy to speak when countless voices are saying the same thing. The true test of character begins when a person finds themselves standing alone, holding on to a truth, a principle, or a conviction that others refuse to accept. Most people naturally seek belonging. Human beings are social by nature. We want acceptance, understanding, and companionship. We want to feel connected to, patience, those around us. Because of this, isolation can be one of the most difficult experiences to endure. When a person stands alone, they often face more than disagreement. They face loneliness, uncertainty, and the emotional burden of feeling abandoned by people they once trusted. There is a unique kind of pressure that comes from being outnumbered. When everyone around you believes one thing and you believe another, doubt begins to creep into your mind. You start questioning yourself. You wonder, patience, whether you have overlooked something. You wonder whether your perspective is flawed. Even when the facts support your position, the overwhelming influence of the majority can create internal conflict. This is why standing alone requires more than confidence. It requires courage. Courage is often misunderstood. Many people imagine courage as fearlessness, but true courage is something different. Courage is the ability to move forward despite fear. It is the willingness to remain committed to, patience, what is right even when the outcome is uncertain. A courageous person does not necessarily enjoy standing alone. They simply refuse to abandon their principles for the sake of convenience. Throughout history, some of the most significant changes began with individuals who stood alone. Before movements gained followers, before ideas gained acceptance, and before truths gained recognition, there was often a single person willing to challenge popular opinion. At the beginning, their voices seemed insignificant. Their warnings were ignored. Their concerns were dismissed. Yet over time, reality proved them correct. What began as a lonely position eventually became an accepted truth. Standing alone often reveals the difference between conviction and popularity. Many beliefs survive only because they are supported by others. Remove the crowd and those beliefs disappear. Genuine conviction, however, remains even in isolation. It survives criticism, rejection, and pressure because it is rooted in principle rather than approval. A person with true conviction does not constantly adjust their values to match changing opinions. They remain anchored to what they believe is right. One of the most difficult challenges faced by those who stand alone is resisting the temptation to compromise their integrity. The desire to fit in can be powerful. People may encourage them to stay quiet, change their story, or accept something they know is false. The promises can be appealing. Acceptance, patience, comfort, and peace may seem just within reach, yet these rewards often come with a hidden cost. They require a person to abandon their truth in exchange for temporary approval. Integrity becomes most valuable when it is expensive. Anyone can maintain principles when doing so is easy. Anyone can speak honestly when honesty carries no consequences. The real measure of integrity emerges when honesty creates obstacles, when truth invites criticism, and when standing firm results in isolation. Those moments reveal whether a person's values are genuine or merely convenient. Standing alone also teaches resilience. When external support disappears, individuals learn to rely on their inner strength. They discover abilities they never knew they possessed. Challenges that once seemed overwhelming become manageable. The absence of encouragement forces them to develop determination, patience, and self-belief. While loneliness may be painful, it often becomes a powerful teacher. Another important lesson learned through isolation is that numbers do not determine truth. 1,000 people repeating a falsehood cannot transform it into reality. Likewise, a single person speaking the truth does not become wrong simply because they stand alone. Reality exists independently of public opinion. Facts remain facts whether they are embraced by millions or recognized by only one person. The journey of standing alone is rarely glamorous. It involves moments of frustration, disappointment, and exhaustion. There are days when progress seems impossible and recognition feels distant. Yet those who remain faithful to their convictions often discover something remarkable. Their willingness to stand alone inspires others. People who were initially silent begin finding their voices. Those who were hesitant begin showing support. What once appeared to be a solitary struggle gradually becomes a shared cause. Strength does not always appear in dramatic acts of defiance. Sometimes it appears in patience, quiet persistence. It appears in the individual who refuses to surrender their principles despite pressure from every direction. It appears in the person who continues speaking honestly despite criticism. It appears in the one who remains faithful to the truth even when no one is standing beside them. The power of standing alone lies not in isolation itself, but in the unwavering commitment it represents. It demonstrates that some values are worth defending regardless of the consequences. It proves that character is not determined by popularity and that conviction does not require a crowd. It reveals a strength that cannot be measured by numbers, applause, or public approval because its source comes from within. There are moments in life when injustice seems untouchable. Wrongdoers appear confident, deception appears successful, and those who have suffered are left wondering whether accountability will ever arrive. During such times, it is easy to believe that fairness has disappeared and that truth has been permanently buried beneath power, influence, or manipulation. Yet history repeatedly demonstrates that justice may sleep for a while, but it rarely remains asleep forever. One of the most painful experiences a person can endure is watching wrongdoing go unpunished. When someone has been harmed, falsely accused, betrayed, or denied their rights, they naturally hope for a quick resolution. They want the truth to emerge immediately. They want those responsible to face consequences without delay. Unfortunately, justice does not always move at the speed people desire. It often follows a slower path, one shaped by investigation, evidence, and time. This delay can create deep frustration. People begin asking difficult questions. Why are those responsible still free? Why has the truth not been recognized? Why do lies seem to be winning? These questions are understandable because injustice often creates the illusion of permanence. When a problem continues for months or years, it can feel as though it will never end. The longer unfairness survives, the easier it becomes to mistake delay for defeat. However, there is an important difference between something being delayed and something being denied. A delayed outcome remains possible. A denied outcome does not. Many people lose hope because they confuse these two realities. They assume that because justice has not arrived yet, it never will. Yet some of the most significant acts of justice in history, occurred after long periods of waiting. The truth often requires time to gather its witnesses, reveal its evidence, and expose its contradictions. Injustice usually depends on secrecy. It thrives when facts remain hidden, when people remain silent, and when those responsible believe they will never be questioned. For a while, this strategy can seem effective. Those who benefit from deception may appear secure. They may enjoy power, influence, or public support. They may convince themselves that, they have escaped accountability. Yet hidden within every act of wrongdoing is a weakness. The truth continues to exist. No matter how carefully a lie is constructed, reality remains unchanged. Facts do not disappear simply because someone ignores them. Evidence does not cease to exist because it has not yet been discovered. Witnesses do not lose their memories because others refuse to listen. Time has a remarkable ability to uncover what people work hard to conceal. Documents surface. Records, emerge. Conversations are remembered. Details connect. What once seemed invisible gradually becomes impossible to ignore. Justice often begins awakening when people refuse to abandon the search for truth. Investigators continue asking questions. Honest individuals continue speaking. Victims continue sharing their experiences. Supporters continue seeking answers. Each effort may seem small on its own, but together they create momentum. The process can be slow and sometimes discouraging, yet persistence keeps justice moving forward even when progress appears invisible. There is also a psychological aspect to justice that many people overlook. Those who commit wrongdoing often assume they control the narrative forever. They believe they can manage perceptions, silence critics, or manipulate circumstances indefinitely. Confidence can lead them to become careless. Over time, inconsistencies emerge, contradictions appear. The very people who once protected them may begin questioning their actions. What seemed secure starts becoming fragile. For those who have endured unfair treatment, waiting for justice requires extraordinary resilience. It demands patience during periods of uncertainty. It requires maintaining faith when circumstances suggest otherwise. This does not mean ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It means refusing to let temporary setbacks define the final outcome. Strength is not measured by the absence of struggle. It is measured by the ability to continue believing in what is right despite the struggle. Justice is more than punishment. It is the restoration of truth. It is the recognition of reality. It is the moment when facts replace falsehood and accountability replaces avoidance. Sometimes this occurs in courts, investigations, or official decisions. Other times it happens through public awareness, personal vindication, or the exposure of deception. While the form may vary, the principle remains the same. Reality eventually demands acknowledgement. One reason justice carries such power is because it changes more than outcomes. It changes perceptions. People who once believed a false narrative begin seeing events differently. Those who remain silent find the courage to speak. Observers who are uncertain gain clarity. The emergence of justice does not merely correct a situation, it reshapes understanding. It allows truth to occupy the place where confusion once existed. When justice finally awakens, the change can seem sudden. Years of hidden facts may come together in a single moment. Evidence that remained unnoticed suddenly becomes undeniable. Questions that lingered for years receive answers. The same voices that were ignored begin receiving attention. What once appeared impossible becomes reality. The awakening may feel dramatic, but it is usually the result of countless unseen efforts, patient persistence, and the unchanging presence of truth waiting to be recognized. One of the most remarkable qualities, patience, of truth is that it possesses a persistence unlike anything else. It does not depend on popularity, power, or approval to exist. It remains unchanged whether people accept it or reject it. While lies often require protection, truth survives on its own. It may be ignored for a season, questioned for a period, or hidden for a time, but eventually it finds a way to be seen. This is why throughout history, truth has repeatedly proven that it cannot be permanently suppressed. Many people believe that, patience, if enough pressure is applied, reality can be altered. They assume that controlling information, influencing opinions, or silencing certain voices will allow falsehood to prevail indefinitely. For a while, this strategy may appear successful. A lie can dominate conversations. A false narrative can shape public perception. People may begin accepting fiction as fact, yet beneath the surface, reality remains exactly what it has always been. The truth waits patiently for an opportunity to emerge. Patience. The journey of truth is rarely immediate. It often travels through resistance before reaching recognition. There are moments when honest individuals feel completely alone because no one seems willing to listen. Their experiences are dismissed. Their concerns are ignored. Their words are questioned. At times, they may even begin wondering whether speaking the truth was worth the cost. The burden can become heavy when misunderstanding lasts for months or years. Despite these challenges, truth, patience, possesses an advantage that deception can never fully overcome. Truth is connected to reality. Because it is real, evidence naturally points toward it. Facts gradually support it. Circumstances eventually reveal it. While lies must constantly create new explanations to survive, truth remains consistent. It does not need revision. It does not need adjustment. It simply waits for the right moment to be recognized. One of the reasons truth eventually finds a witness is that people are naturally, patience, drawn toward authenticity. Not everyone acts on this desire immediately, but over time many individuals begin questioning inconsistencies. They notice contradictions. They recognize patterns that do not make sense. They become curious about details that others overlooked. This curiosity often becomes the first step toward uncovering what is real. A witness is not always someone who physically observed an event. A witness can be a person who discovers evidence, uncovers hidden facts, or finds the patience, courage to speak when others remain silent. Witnesses come in many forms. Sometimes they are investigators, sometimes they are friends, sometimes they are strangers who happen upon important information. Regardless of who they are, they play a critical role in helping truth reach the light. Throughout history, many important truths remained hidden until someone decided to step forward. There were situations where countless people remained silent because they feared consequences. Others assumed, patience, someone else would speak. Some believed their voice would not matter. Then one individual chose to act. One person shared what they knew. One person presented evidence. One person challenged a false narrative. That single decision often became the catalyst for enormous change. The emergence of witnesses demonstrates an important lesson about human courage. Speaking the truth is not always easy. In some situations it carries risks. People may face criticism, opposition, or pressure to remain patient, silent. Yet there are individuals who recognize that protecting the truth is more important than protecting their comfort. These people understand that silence can allow injustice to continue while honesty can begin the process of correction. Truth also has a unique ability to attract support once it begins emerging. At first, only one voice may speak, then another joins. Soon others who were previously silent gain confidence. They realize they are not alone. What began as an isolated effort, patience, gradually becomes a collective movement toward understanding. The truth that once seemed fragile begins growing stronger because more people are willing to acknowledge it. Another reason truth eventually finds its witness is that reality leaves traces behind. Every action creates consequences. Every event produces evidence. Every decision leaves a record of some kind. Even when people work hard to conceal information, complete concealment is rarely possible. Details remain. Clues survive. Patience, connections exist. These traces may not be obvious immediately, but time often brings them into focus. For those who have been waiting for recognition, this principle offers hope. The absence of immediate support does not mean the truth has disappeared. The lack of witnesses today does not mean there will be none tomorrow. Reality continues existing even when it is hidden from view. The facts remain intact regardless of public opinion. What is true does not become false simply because it is, temporarily ignored. Patience becomes essential during this process. Truth does not always reveal itself according to human schedules. It may take longer than expected.